Alright, 2020 playoff prediction time. I'm gonna do these a bit differently this year. Normally I go through from start to finish and make an entire bracket, and while that is fun, for 2020 I'm just gonna go round by round. I feel like there's a ton of unpredictable elements. There's no home court advantage, no fans. We've basically just done a whole offseason, so some players came back to their teams considerably better. Some teams don't exactly look as great as they did before the stoppage. So now that there's no more pointless games, guys aren't gonna be taking games off or sitting at the end of games. There's not gonna be chess matches being played so certain teams can be seated in certain areas. I think some of these teams are going to look a little bit different. I don't know that the bubble play that we saw from some of these teams is representative of what we're going to see from their playoff forms. Alright, so Lakers versus the 8th seed. Yeah, right now I'm actually recording this before the play-in game between the Blazers and Grizzlies. I'm trying to get this out in a timely manner, so I figured I could do that anyways because the prediction remains the same. Honestly, this is fun. I love the play-in tournament idea, but whether the Blazers win today and go ahead and advance or whatever happens, I think the first round is 5 games at best. So if they were to play the Grizzlies, I think that's a sweep. If they play the Blazers, maybe off the strength of Damian Lillard, they can get 1 game, but I'm not expecting much. By the way, my prediction is that it's going to be the Blazers. They only have to win 1 game. They've done a lot to get here, so. And it's been fun, by the way. Watching Damian Lillard go off in the bubble, it's been one of the most enjoyable basketball experiences. He's definitely made of the stuff of superstars. He just went and averaged 50 points so his team could have a chance to make the playoffs. They were trapping him before half court in that last game and daring his teammates to make shots. And then he went and still got 40. Lillard is incredible, and I long for the day that we see him with adequate help, because although he's got some decent players here, you've got CJ McCollum, Nurkic is better than I think a lot of people realize, and hell, how about the rise of Gary Trent Jr.? That goes to what I was just speaking about with players coming back to the bubble a lot better than they were during the season. However, basketball is a two-sided affair. The Blazers defense is very porous. You're going against a team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis on it, so I don't know when Charles Barkley says that Portland is going to advance. Well, first of all, the finals take, I think that's just a troll, but even beating LA in the first round, unless they're just gonna put up 160 every game, I don't see it. Now, the reason you could maybe convince me the Blazers could get 1 is because Damian Lillard seems immune to defense lately, and the Lakers don't have the best defensive guards. I think this is where they might feel the loss of Avery Bradley a little bit. However, between the Lakers' star power, their offense, and the Trailblazer defense, and let's be real, lack of star power, CJ McCollum is playing with a fracture in his back right now. Yeah, Lakers sweep. Regardless, Blazers Grizz, sweep either way. Clippers and Mavericks. Wow, man, this is a 2-7 matchup, and on the 7 side, you have an MVP candidate as the 7th seed. That's the West for you. Luka Doncic has been amazing since the bubble restart. Hell, he's been amazing all season. The Mavericks offense was amazing this season, but let's be real, not a lot of teams match up great with the Clippers, especially when your best threat comes from the perimeter, because the Clippers have the personnel to shut that down. They've got multiple bodies to throw at Luka. They can take turns between Kawhi, PG, and for obvious reasons, I don't even think those two are going to be guarding him the entire game. I saw they even threw Morris at him. If he's going to be getting playoff minutes, I'm not sure, because his offense might make him unplayable. So we'll see how they go with that, but regardless, the Clippers can play basically any way that they need to. They're going to have Trez back. Montrezl Harrell has returned to the bubble, so they've got size for Porzingis. Obviously, their lineup can go small if that's what the Mavs want to do. However, I do think Dallas is going to be able to at least hang. Again, I look at them kind of funny being a 7 seed. I don't think that's really representative of what they are. So I'm going Clippers in 6 here, especially because I do just have a few concerns about continuity. This team during the season before the stoppage, they were trying to get everybody on the court at once, and that rarely ever happened. We got here, and of course Montrezl Harrell hasn't even played yet. Lou Williams missed some games. So I do think the Clippers are still trying to somewhat get it together, but this is not the upset I expect in the playoffs. I still think the Mavericks might be like a year away, maybe a couple of pieces, and I do expect the Clippers defense to get this done. I think for playoff basketball, they're going to go really hard at Luka and maybe not shut him down, but I think he's going to have a tough time. Nuggets and Jazz. For some reason, I really wanted to see this. I watched their matchups during the season. They had a contender for the game of the bubble, although there was a few contenders for that. However, there's no denying, I think the Nuggets are in a better position right now than they were when the season stopped. Quite simply, they've added Michael Porter Jr. to what was already a 3rd-seeded team. If the Clippers and Lakers weren't around, the Nuggets, I don't know if they would be the favorite, but they would be somebody that you look at. I think they would be at the top of a lot of lists. Anywho, MPJ changes this entire dynamic. He's still making a lot of defensive mistakes. That's going to come with time. However, on offense, I believe he has been averaging around 27 points in the bubble. This is what everybody knew he was capable of, and it's what I've been excited for Denver for, because I've always felt like they needed another star next to Jokic, and going forward, this is what I expect them to build around. And I do think that it's in a good enough spot right now that it's going to get them past the Jazz. I probably would have picked them if this was just the regular season as well, but especially from what I've seen in the bubble, the Jazz, they still have a lot to figure out in my opinion on offense. They struggle sometimes, and I also just feel like the Nuggets are deeper and better as well. You've got Gary Harris there still, Jamal Murray. I'm not sure how much they're going to be running Bol Bol in the playoffs. playoffs. His talent looks really raw right now. He has his moments, but I would be surprised if we saw a whole lot of him and if he's actually going to factor into this. But you know, also, everyone's going to disagree with me. I actually think this one is going to take the Nuggets around 7 games. Denver did sweep them this year in the 3 matches that they played. However, the furthest point spread was 6. 2 of those games finished within 3 points. It's not as bad as it looks. I polled this series on Twitter and I believe the Jazz only got 10% of the vote. So I would think that a lot of people are looking at this and going sweep or 5 games. But I've watched their matchups this year and the Jazz remain competitive with them. They can eke a few of these out and all of a sudden the series is knotted. Missing Bojan Bogdanovic is what is obviously going to keep them from making a deep run this year, or help keep them. That's one of the reasons they're not going to make a deep run, I don't think. I think when they did have him, they were looked at as sort of a dark horse. But also he did not play in the bubble matchup, and again, that was still highly competitive, just like the rest of their games. So I don't think that Utah is going to look as bad as everyone seems to think they will. But for the people that don't watch Denver, this team is really good. They're not a first round out. They should get this done, and hopefully they do, because I think a lot of people would prefer watching Jokic deeper in the playoffs than Rudy Gobert. Let's just be real. And the fan favorite, the best for last in the West, Thunder and Rockets. This is one of those series where I truly miss regular basketball. Home court advantage, a crowd. Like, these are the 2 teams that made a deal in the offseason. A blockbuster deal, really. Westbrook to the Rockets, Chris Paul to the Thunder. Thunder expected to not even be a playoff team, and they finished tied with the Rockets. Identical records. Yeah, if you haven't watched Chris Paul this year, if you haven't watched the Thunder, you missed out. Incredible story there. And I truly hate that we're not going to get to see Russell Westbrook play against the team he spent his entire career with. I don't even know if the Thunder crowd would boo him. Regardless, he is also a point of contention in this series because we don't know how much he's going to play. He just recently strained his quad, and the news that we got is that he'll miss at least the first few playoff games. Now, we have no clue what that means. He's going to be reevaluated, so we don't know if he's going to miss just the first 2, the first 3. That affects this series heavily. The Rockets' offense is generally pretty simple as long as one of Harden or Westbrook are out there, but I felt like they had found out how to use him pretty well off ball since getting rid of a center. I feel like Westbrook was obviously a lot better without a center being on the floor. This is the most space he's ever had, and with him not being there, oof. I had a tough time looking at this series when he was there. Chris Paul has not lost a whole lot. He's not the CP3 that I grew up with, but still a floor general, basketball IQ still through the roof, and still great offensively. Steven Adams remains a very solid big man, and that's important here because I've been dying to see the Rockets in the playoffs. This experiment where they take a center completely off the floor and just run an assortment of guards and forwards, it obviously helped their offense, but the thing I've always wondered is when they play the same team over and over again, as you do in the playoffs, I wonder if it's going to hold up. I wonder if teams are going to be able to attack that to the point that it's something that Houston can't overcome, although nobody can really guard their offense. There's not a whole lot you can do with Harden. There's not a whole lot you can do with dribble penetration, getting open threes. But look, we do not have confirmation that Westbrook is missing the whole series. He could even return in a scenario where the Rockets fell down 0-2, or if they were down 1-2. And I don't see this, I still don't see this team going out in the first round, man. I'm gonna go Rockets in 7. Now look, I called the Nuggets and Jazz a 7-game series, but if the Jazz find a way to figure that out and win that, I'll actually be surprised that the Nuggets are gone. This Thunder and Rockets series, it's so close, especially with the health concerns. If we wound up with the Thunder in the second round, I would not be surprised at all. I've been looking at them all season. I've always thought they were going to be a terribly annoying first round matchup for somebody, and I've looked at them as the squad with the most upset potential. They're going against a team here in Houston that is showing something that's kind of unorthodox. It's not proven in the playoffs. The Warriors small ball is different than the Rockets small ball. The Warriors had small ball, this is fucking tiny ball. This is, if the Rockets finesse a championship, I am fully afraid of the future of centers in this league. Like, for real this time. So to me, this is the most intriguing series. However, James Harden is a great weapon to have in your back pocket, so I think one way or the other, Houston will be able to figure this out. And just for the record, because of what Houston is doing is so unguardable, because it's so different, it feels like they have the potential to beat anybody in a playoff series. I guess it's just a matter of proof at this point. Alright, Eastern Conference. Bucks, Magic, sweep. Can we install a skunk rule? Does Giannis have to play all these 4 games? I feel like this is just injury potential. Raptors and Nets. You know, I have more respect for the Nets than I came into the bubble with. I saw a tweet that said the Nets are the 2019 Clippers, and everybody should get the comparison. A team that's very scrappy and they've got pieces, but clearly they're missing the championship pieces. And yeah, their championship pieces are Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. They're very respectable, but Toronto, this is a team with championship aspirations. They should not drop a game here. They've got defensive schemes to compete with the likes of a Giannis, you know, superstar players. While Karis LeVert is nice, I don't expect there to be some type of upset here. Although last year with Kawhi Leonard, they dropped 1 to the Magic, so obviously anything is possible. But yeah, just for me to put a number on it, sweep. Celtics and Philly. I actually did not want to see the Sixers in the first round when they had Ben Simmons. I thought that was a terrible first round matchup. I hated that they were on that side of the bracket. However, without Ben Simmons, the offense will be focused around Joel Embiid, and the Celtics, they really don't have, well, the guy guy that they would have had for Embiid is playing with Embiid now. So Daniel Tice, you are up. However, still, not only do I not fear them as much without Ben Simmons, because he did a hell of a lot for them defensively, offensively, I'm also looking at Embiid, and I really doubt his health, man. His health is always a concern, but since being in the bubble, he's got that rolled ankle. His wrist is apparently becoming a concern. Every time he gets into a physical play, I see him grabbing his wrist. So I'm not predicting injury, but I'm also doubting his ability to really be there and lead a team in this type of situation. Without the second star, going against a very tough Celtics team, very offensively talented Celtics team. While healthy, I don't doubt he's going to put up numbers, because again, there's nobody on the Celtics that can stop him, but I don't know. With Ben Simmons, I thought there was high potential for Philly to go ahead and move on here. Without him, I'm going to go Celtics in 6, because Philly's still scrappy, don't get it twisted. They're still very active on defense. Without Ben Simmons, there's not going to be any confusion on whose offense this is or how to run it, because they don't really have to try to experiment in the playoffs now with Ben Simmons playing a power forward or having him clog up space on the guard position. So at least things are a little bit clearer for them, less confusion. But going against a team with Kemba, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, they could have absolutely used Ben Simmons' defensive versatility, and so I still have the Celtics advancing here. But I do think this series is going to be more entertaining than people are giving it credit for. And finally, Indy and Miami. Sorry, Nick McMillan, this is absolutely about Jimmy Butler and TJ Warren. Or maybe it's not. He said the other day, oh, you know, it's not about those two, it's about the team. After that first matchup, I kind of lost my love for this, I guess, because Miami is clearly capable of focusing in on TJ Warren and shutting him down. While he had an amazing bubble run, he's not a superstar player, and Miami is very capable defensively. Oladipo is not the same right now, as he shouldn't be. So if TJ Warren is your number one, I think they're going to go at him, and we also don't know the actual status of TJ Warren. He's got the same type of foot injury that put Sabonis out for the playoffs. He's not here. So I was questioning if TJ was even going to play once I heard that, but apparently he'd been playing with it. So we'll see how effective he is. But in Miami, I'm looking at a team that is a very dark horse for the championship. They have the potential to win it all. I don't expect them to this year, but I can see the makings of something there. And I highly doubt that Indiana is going to have the firepower to pull this off. Same story as 2013 and 2014, right? Yeah, maybe if Oladipo was healthy and TJ Warren was also like this, and they had Sabonis as well, because that is a big blow for them. But I think the rest of the keys here are going to favor Miami. And I actually think Miami's going to get this one done in 5, man. The only game the Pacers got against Miami this season was just yesterday when nobody played. 2 of them were double-digit wins for the Heat. 1 was a 1-point win. So the story is fun. The history makes this a little fun, but I don't think it's going to live up to what people thought it was when we had the whole Jimmy Butler and TJ Warren skirmish. Yeah, I feel comfortable with Miami in 5. And so that would yield us a second round of Lakers and Rockets, Clippers and Nuggets, Bucks Heat, and Raptors and Celtics. Alright, so let's see if this second round actually comes to fruition. If it does, you've got some amazing matchups here. But let's see who's healthy by that point. Let's see who's actually playing good basketball by that point. For instance, do the Lakers just limp to the second round like they kind of limped through the bubble? Or do they arrive in a show of force? We did it despite everything. We got to a playoffs this year. We got a playoffs this year, thankfully. I hope it's one of the best ones in a while because the matchups definitely give it that potential. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button, comment, and sub, and hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications every time a new video drops. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.